Imagine this. You are high in the frozen Ural Mountains, night. The temperature is below minus 30 degrees Celsius. The wind is so strong that the tent shakes with every gust. Inside are 9 experienced hikers, but within a few hours they will panic, cut their tent open from the inside, and run barefoot into the freezing darkness. None of them will survive, and their deaths will become one of the most terrifying mysteries of the 20th century. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Chapter 1. The beginning of the expedition. January 1959. A group of young hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute prepares for a difficult winter expedition through the northern Ural Mountains. The group was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an experienced hiker and radio engineering student. 9 others joined him on the journey. All of them were trained hikers, many with experience surviving harsh winter expeditions. Their destination was Mount Otorten. The route was considered one of the most difficult hiking categories in the Soviet Union, but nobody could have imagined that this journey would become their last. Chapter 2. The Only Survivor. Originally, there were 10 members in the group, but during the trip, one of the hikers, Yuri Udin, became seriously ill and decided to return home. That decision saved his life. Years later, he would become the only person able to speak about the group from personal experience. He later admitted, "I asked myself many times, why was it me who got sick?" Chapter 3. The Journey into the Mountains. The hikers continued moving farther north. The higher they climbed, the worse the weather became. Powerful winds, snowstorms, freezing temperatures. But despite the brutal conditions, the group remained cheerful. They took photographs, joked with each other, and kept detailed journals. They were ordinary young people. And that is exactly what makes this story so disturbing, because everything seemed completely normal. Until that night. Chapter 4. Mountain of the Dead. On February 1st, 1959, the group reached the slope of Mount Kholat Syakhl. In the language of the local Mansi people, the name roughly translates to Mountain of the Dead. Because of poor visibility, the hikers lost their route. Instead of descending into the forest, they decided to set up camp directly on the exposed mountain slope. It was dangerous, but the group was experienced and likely saw no immediate threat. They ate dinner, wrote their final diary entries, took their last photographs, and went to sleep. No one knows what happened next. Chapter 5. Something happens during the night. Late that night, something strange happens. Something so terrifying that the hikers cut their tent open from the inside with a knife. They do not use the entrance. They do not gather their belongings. They do not put on proper winter clothing. They simply run outside, into the darkness, into the freezing cold. Some were barefoot. Others wore only socks. The temperature that night may have dropped below minus 30 degrees Celsius. For a person without warm clothing, survival in those conditions is nearly impossible. But the strangest part is this. None of them immediately tried to return, as if whatever was near the tent felt more terrifying than freezing to death. Chapter 6. The search begins when the group failed to return on time. Their families became worried. Search teams were eventually organized. Rescuers, soldiers, and volunteers searched the mountains, and soon they found the tent. The scene inside looked horrifying. Everything was still there. Boots, jackets, food, cameras, documents. The tent had been cut open from the inside, and footprints in the snow led down the slope toward the forest. Investigators later stated that the hikers appeared to have left the camp calmly, not while running. But why? What could force experienced hikers to leave their shelter at night in deadly temperatures, almost half-dressed? Chapter 7. The First Bodies. The first 2 bodies were found near a large cedar tree. They were barely clothed. Nearby were the remains of a small fire. It appeared they had tried to keep warm. Broken branches were discovered several meters high in the tree, as if someone had desperately climbed upward, possibly to look toward the tent, or to escape from something below. Later, 3 more bodies were found between the forest and the tent. One of them was Igor Dyatlov himself. Judging by the position of the bodies, they had attempted to return to the campsite, but they froze to death on the way. Chapter 8. The Strangest Discoveries. The remaining 4 hikers were not discovered until months later beneath deep layers of snow, and their injuries shocked investigators. Some had broken ribs, others had fractured skulls, yet many had almost no external wounds. Investigators claimed the force of the injuries was compri.
One woman was missing her tongue. Traces of radiation were reportedly found on some of the victims' clothing, and local witnesses claimed to have seen mysterious glowing lights in the sky around the time of the incident. With every new detail, the mystery became even stranger. Chapter 9. The Theories. Over the decades, countless theories have tried to explain what happened. Avalanche. The official explanation suggests that a snow slab or avalanche forced the hikers to flee the tent. But many researchers question this theory. Too many details do not match. Secret military testing. Some believe the group accidentally entered the area of classified Soviet military experiments. The strange lights and traces of radiation only fueled suspicion. Infrasound. Another theory claims that powerful winds created low-frequency sound waves capable of causing panic and psychological distress. The supernatural others believe something far more mysterious happened in those mountains. UFOs, a creature in the wilderness, or something humanity still cannot explain. Ending more than 65 years have passed, yet nobody truly knows what happened that night at Dyatlov Pass. Why did the hikers run from their tent? What terrified them so badly? Why did some of the injuries seem impossible for a normal accident? And most importantly, what really happened that night in the frozen mountains of the Urals? Perhaps the truth remains forever buried beneath the snow of the northern Ural wilderness. What do you think really happened at Dyatlov Pass?